Good evening. I am just jumping on live to share a bit of information that came through my email from draft to digital. And I kind of just scanned it at first and because I had so many other things going on, but in a moment of quiet, it kind of settled in my mind that this is a significant change. So, what the change is that draft to digital and other platforms have decided and started to remove summary book titles from their platforms and have made a decision to not accept summary books for publication. There were three reasons why this decision was made. And then, well, there were probably more than three, but three were cited in the draft to digital communication. And basically, it was reader trust was the number one issue. That when a reader goes onto a website and selects a summary book, they often are thinking that it is a book from the original author. And there's a great example that I have that I'll share with you. I think I have the book right here. Hopefully, it'll show up on the screen well. But this is called The Mountain Is You workbook. But notice it says workbook, the mountain is you, transforming self-sabotage into self-mastery. And the writers of this book are listed below. And this is not the original author of The Mountain Is You. So the number one reason that was given was reader trust. And if you get an opportunity to look at The Mountain Is You, you'll notice that that book is black, that there is gold in the font is similar, not exactly the same. But basically, the peaked image here on the author's book, it's a mountain, but it has the exact same subtitle, same color scheme, nearly similar fonts. And it's easy to see how a reader could assume and construe that the workbook is from the same author. Then the second reason that was cited was copyright compliance. And it is, I guess, been discovered that many books that are published are not with the permission of the original creator of that intellectual property. So that's copyright infringement. So that as an independent author and a professional in the self-publishing space, I'm like never okay with intellectual property being infringed upon. And the third reason that Draft to Digital cited was excessive inventory. So apparently, the self publishing space is being inundated with summary books of best selling titles, and this is across different genres. I particularly am a bit partial to nonfiction, self help. That's the space that I serve clients in. And people are publishing their expertise, they're publishing their knowledge and their wisdom, and then another business enterprise, because this particular book, the publisher is Inspirational Creator. And so there's a business model for creating summaries of books. And we've, I think our first introduction to it was the um, For Dummies series, like um, Tennis for Dummies, Adobe for Dummies, and so on and so forth. These are summaries of processes and products that make it easy for you to digest it. So, Cliff Notes, you know. So, but basically, the industry has decided that they're not amenable to publishing summary books, and they are removing summary books from their platforms. So, as I said, in my experience, so I'll just tell you about my experience. I listened to The Mountain Is You on audiobook, and I was so intrigued with the information in the book. And I was like, okay, I need a way to execute the teachings of this book in my personal life. And I promptly went on to Amazon to look for the workbook because I thought surely there's a workbook for it. And the first workbook I came across was this one. And I'll be honest, it said The Mountain Is You. It had the very same subtitle and it said workbook. And that was enough for me to click, click, click. And the book was on its way to me in Prime. But after I click, it shows you other titles that people have purchased. And then I noticed that there were books with different covers that looked distinctly different than the original book. And that's what prompted me to look at the authors of this book. And I said, oh my goodness, this is not the same author. And that means that Miss Brianna Weist should she decide to produce a workbook, her workbook is now in competition with at least 3 to 4 other workbooks off of her original work. And I believe that an author is entitled, well, it's the law, it's not what I believe. When you have a copyright, you have the right to produce derivatives of your work. And for other people to produce derivatives of your work is depriving you of compensation for your intellectual property. And so unknowingly, I bought this book, but I'll tell you, here's something I believe the industry needs to take into consideration. The original author does not have a workbook, but the reader there is a demand among readers for workbooks that relate to the original titles that they read. So this book is good. There is no shade on the content of this book. This conversation is about the author's right to benefit from their derivative works, right? And for readers not to be confused, thinking they're buying in the original author's work. This is a good book. This book does what I was looking for. It summarizes those examples of how to overcome obstacles. This book has key takeaways. It has a section that says over to you, and it does a really good job of summarizing the points of the book. So this book has a value for me. It served the exact purpose that I wanted it to. I just didn't realize I was buying a book by another another publisher and another author. So in that context, I would hope that the changes that are being made in the industry leaves room for the original author to produce derivative works and sell them because readers want them. So I'm kind of curious as to how that's going to work out. I would really be interested in um, having some conversations with authors who have had the experience of derivative works being created off of theirs and what that is like for them. And, it will be an interesting conversation. So I think I'm going to try to um, construct an opportunity to have that conversation on both sides, and bring that information to you. So I did a newsletter broadcast today about that, and that was the topic. That's what we explored. I put the summary in the comments here. So give me some feedback. Let me know what you think about this because it's definitely a change. It's a shakeup. A business model that has been very fruitful and prosperous is now drying up, and so that niche has to figure out how they're going to adapt. So I will be curious also to see how that starts happening and when we start seeing the public fallout of these titles being removed from platforms and being rejected. So that is my take on it, and I will leave you to it. Have a great evening, and remember to chase your dreams. The publishing ecosystem has room for you. Take care.